a simple question with perhaps complex answers. Which version of the Cowboys do you believe will show up on Sunday evening? So we were talking about this whenever people text in and they're like, y'all are dumb, y'all are homers, no way the Cowboys are going to win. Well, I mean, the point spread's 3.5. So Vegas thinks it's viable. Multiple national experts have picked the Cowboys to win. I certainly think it's possible. But if you look at the Washington game and you look at the Tampa game, this is a team that can go in many different directions, or like shockingly different directions.
The only thing I'm really concerned about is the 5 days rest.
Okay.
Like that really does, that's fortunate for San Francisco. I'm not complaining about it. I'm not saying it's not fair, but it does concern me as the Cowboys need to, like their offensive line has to be in good shape for this game. For multiple reasons. They need to run the ball effectively. And the Niners, I have a stat later in the C block that kind of points to what they have to do. The defense, Jaron Kearse is going to be very important to what the Cowboys do as well. Their safety play is something that even Kyle Shanahan was talking about yesterday. He's like, man, they've done a really good job with that because they can use them in so many multiple ways. And even Shanahan was pointing out that's different than what Dan Quinn, as the head coach, was trying to get out of his defense while they were in Atlanta. So that's a new evolution in Dan Quinn's defense.
Since you talked about Jaron Kearse, I was just curious. I know you brought it up yesterday. How awesome do you think it is, or how many players do you think there are that like, oh yeah, no, I definitely wanted to play this game? Like, not that you're not motivated in the playoffs anyway, but all the people who are like, no, I know exactly how our season ended last year.
Yeah.
Isn't this in another way, the Lamar Jackson? Oh, you don't care about me? I think that Jerry Jones does do a good job, whether you like him or not, and he has his issues, that he makes you feel like you want to be part of this.
Yes. I mean, you know what?
That's true.
The great point that you just made there, Mike, ask Jesse Holley when Jerry Jones was pitching him to come to the team. Jesse Holley, it's a really interesting story, and I can't describe it the exact same way. But he walked him around the new stadium, and he's talking about how he picks each bolt, each screw that goes into he's like, I handpicked all these things, and then turns it to, and I'm handpicking you to become part of what we do. You know, like he makes you feel like you're the most important piece now to what we're going to try and accomplish. Whether that's real or not, that's how he feels about this thing. So I think you're dead on. All of these guys want to be out there for not just because they know what happened last year, but because they believe the whole organization has this kind of mindset. I think also Mike McCarthy's ability to create a family environment, a real team environment, has been a huge factor too. Just because people say, Kevin, that working with Jerry is impossible because he undercuts all these things that you're trying to grow. And Mike McCarthy is somehow, even in while all the chaos has been going on, has still been able to keep that room. And that's a positive. Man.
It just, if you look back at the Cowboys or you look at some of the fan texts or the Twolos, you would think that the Cowboys go into this game at 3-7 or something like that in their last 10 games. Since the bye, last 2 months, because even NFL.com said the Cowboys have been the most erratic team over the last 2 months. And I think that is very fair. But they also go into the playoffs since the bye 7-3. And if you want to focus on what will be the last 2 months, it's 7-2. And so what do you have in that run? You have the still perplexing loss to Green Bay. How do you follow that up? You go on the road and beat the crap out of Minnesota. And I know people are like, I don't think Minnesota's that good. All right, fair enough. But they still had an amazing record, and you whipped the crap out of them. And then you handled the Giants after a terrible start. And then you put together the most amazing fourth quarter we've maybe ever seen in NFL history in the win over the Colts. And then what do you follow that up with? A very underwhelming performance against Houston. A very underwhelming performance against Jacksonville, which loses you the game. And then you go out and hand Philadelphia, who I think at that point was 13-1, their second loss of the season. And then what do you follow it up with? A dud against Tennessee, even though you won, and a dud against Washington. And what's your follow-up to that? You whipped Tampa's ass. And for everyone who keeps saying, Tampa's not that good, fair enough. The Cowboys destroyed them. It might have said 31-14. That was a 31-6 game before everyone put it on cruise control. That could have gotten way worse. You beat their ass.
Here's something that I think last year, Mike, aside from the Cardinals game, most of the season the Cowboys were able to put the pedal down and then the other team quit. Like, I really go back and watch a lot of those games. The other team was like, man, their offense is just going to blow us out. And it was, hey, we hit you early, see you later. And then they went up against San Francisco and they got hit back multiple times and they were like, crap, what do we have left? I think that was a reality in last year's team. This season, I think there have been those moments of struggle that the Cowboys have had to overcome.
Sure.
And a lot of people in their models will say, well, that doesn't matter. Human what's the word I'm looking for?
Humans?
Human, yeah, but whenever you go through things,
Reaction?
Struggle?
Struggle, yeah.
Flight?
Well, you struggle. Adversity. Human adversity doesn't matter in the models and the numbers. But I think this team needs some of those things and can rely on some of those things. And that's why Tampa, you hit them, and Tampa quit early. I know they came back late in that game, but that was Tom Brady clinging on to everything he had left.
Also, I think the Cowboys had quit caring by that point.
Yeah, they took. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a very smart move, by the way, if we haven't talked about this. Micah Parsons went off of defensive end. They put him at linebacker. And I was watching the Manning cast at that point. I watched most of it the other way, but when the game got out of hand, I was like, well, let me put on the Manning cast and just see what they're doing. And at one point, Eli and Peyton are like, hey, I know it's 24-0, but maybe it looks like they're taking Micah off a defensive end. Don't let him get in a rhythm. And I'm thinking, I think this is kind of smart. You're kind of like, hey, look, we still need you on the field, but we're not going to waste your body right now. We think we have this game in hand. You're going to be on the field and still making plays, but we're not going to have you go up against a 320-pound offensive lineman the rest of this game. So to your point, kind of, hey, we got this game in hand. We still got to play it out, but let's give some of our guys like Micah Parsons a little bit of, you don't have to go up against a 320-pound guy the rest of this game.
But to end that, Kevin, is I think that happened last year, and then I think that happened in this game. Cowboys hit them, and then they had control the rest of the way. I don't think that's going to happen in this game.
Sure.
And this is what I talked about this with you yesterday morning, I believe, and I would like you to help me with this. Any boxing fans out there, if y'all have any thoughts on this. This is one of those fights where you don't go out and stun them and then they're done for the rest of the game. This is going to be one of those that you're going to hit, they're going to hit back. It's two heavyweights going back and forth the full 12 rounds, and somebody might get knocked out late in the game, but it's going to be one of those, it goes the entire way. So if anybody has an example, that's what I would do if I'm McCarthy. I would show the guys this fight and say, this fight right here, it went back and forth, but the guy who eventually won was the guy who got the last punch or whatever it is.
And then I'm starting to think, because originally
Rocky 2.
Okay, all right.
Well, I think most of the Rockies kind of fit that, but
you ain't so bad.
That's three. I was originally thinking of Mike Tyson in terms of, it took people a long time to figure this out, but you have to weather that storm because he is going to come out and try to destroy you. But now I'm thinking more like Hagler Hearns or Hagler Sugar Ray Leonard or something like that, where there's going to be ebbs and flows in the momentum. Because I'll tell you right now, if we walk in on Monday, I'll be super pumped, but it's because the Cowboys beat the 49ers by 17 points. I will be shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked. And so I think about it more like that in the ebb and flow. And this is what I wanted to get down to with this question that people are saying. From the, let's see, well, there's a lot of text now. Somebody, here we go, from the 682. The reason we're so negative was we're sure the bad version of the team will be the one to show up in San Francisco. And so just look at the last two games, because I love your analogy of the ebb and flow. I feel like we take the ebb and flow for the Cowboys to the extreme. We go game by game and ebb and flow, not just quarter by quarter like you kind of hope, but think about it. That Washington game was a catastrophe. And the Tampa game was fantastic. The QBR for Dak Prescott in those games, in the Washington game, a shockingly low 14.8. And then against Tampa, it was 96.5. Not quarterback rating, QBR, which was the best of the weekend. I need to double check. It's probably the best of his career, or at least right at the top. It's astonishing how Dak how the Cowboys, how everyone. And that's why this team is so complicated. Hey, doesn't this team lead the league in points since Dak came back? Yes. Doesn't Dak also lead the league in interceptions?
Yeah.
Yes. Haven't we had an all-star or a Pro Bowl caliber kicker all year? Yes. Isn't he the same guy who missed 4 extra points for the first time in the history of organized football in the last game? Yes.
Are you getting more confident as this week has gone by?
A little bit.
I know it's going to be a really fun game to watch. Just 2 really good teams. That's where I'm. If it was a blowout in San Francisco's direction, I'll vomit. But yeah, it's 2 really good teams, and that's what I'm excited about the most. Is that I'm expecting
that'll be your punishment at 10 a.m. on Monday morning. If the Cowboys lose, you have to stick your finger down your throat,
just
throw
vomit.
up.
Okay, I'll
Not
do that.
Not on the air. It'll make other people throw up.
But I do feel like it's 2 really good football teams going against each other. However, Kevin, you brought up the interceptions. That just look at what happened with Seattle. They had one moment that turned into an avalanche of moments against San Francisco, right?
Yes.
Like that one turnover changes everything, and then it feels like it's impossible to catch up and be back in that game. There's no way I expect this Cowboys team to show up flat, though. No, not at all.
Okay.
And they've done it before, but I don't.
Okay, and that I feel good about that. And I want to read this text because sometimes we joke about trolls. I don't think this person is trolling. This is just not how I feel. From the 214. Man, y'all be getting on my nerves sometimes, but I still love the hell out of y'all. Who cares about the last 2 games? It's this game we got to serve up a platter of positivity. The Cowboys will be victorious against San Francisco. I'm telling you now, if I felt that way, like what did I say all last week? Tampa Bay sucks. And if you lose this game, I'll come in here and be like, well, maybe this team sucks too. We beat their ass. I do not feel that way going into this game. I 100% believe that the Cowboys can win this game, and I am more confident. But this is a matchup I don't want. I would have much rather seen Philly in this spot. San Francisco is a really, really good team. If I had to guess, my guess would be San Francisco wins. I am hopeful. I am wrong. I grew up in the Metroplex. I love the Cowboys. I was born and raised here, and I hope I'm wrong. But if you want the platter of positivity, I think that's disingenuous. I can't tell you all week, oh, we're going to destroy them. I don't feel that way.
I hope I'm wrong too. I'm picking 49ers by 7. So that's it. If you want the other side of it, I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I do too. I think home field advantage will matter here. I think, this is an excuse. It is what it is. Life isn't fair, but the Cowboys on a little bit of a short rest. Obviously, the 49ers getting done on Saturday afternoon. I'm not saying that's the deciding factor, but there is quite a few things that make me lean towards San Francisco. And I heard Choppy and Jane and Sean talk this morning, and Bobby, that the 49ers haven't beat anybody. Somewhat their record is maybe a little false.
Yeah.
And I get it, but I'm just looking at Brock Purdy's games because I have it pulled up here on DraftKings because I'm thinking about taking him as my quarterback because he's so cheap. Not meaning that he's going to have the best week out of all weeks, but it costs a lot more money to have Patrick Mahomes on your fantasy team than Brock Purdy. They beat Miami 33-17. That was his first start when he had to start. They then beat Tampa Bay 35-7.
Yeah.
Then they went to Seattle and won 21-13.
By the way, that 35-7, first time ever Tom Brady lost to a rookie quarterback.
Wow. Then they played Washington and won 37-20. Now, it doesn't mean because you lost to Washington by 20 and they beat them by 17, you're going to lose or anything. Each game is its own individual game. At Las Vegas, only won 37-34.
And I'm telling you, I feel like that's the game if you want to try to dissect their defense. Yeah. I know that's the game a lot of folks are keying in on.
Beat Arizona 38-13, and then in the wild card game, won 41-23 against Seattle. So I hear you, but Miami did make the playoffs. I know they're not a very good team. Tampa Bay did make the playoffs. I know they're not a very good team. Seattle did make the playoffs. I know they're not a very good team, but 4 out of their 7 games that he's played in, Brock Purdy, they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
So he literally faced 4 games out of his 7 games that they were playoff teams. The Cowboys are better than all those teams I just mentioned.
For sure.
The Cowboys do have a chance to win. It would be very interesting. The thing that we were worried about the most was Tom Brady having the ball with a chance to win late in the game. I think in this situation, we're not as scared. Yes, you want to be winning enough that it won't matter. But Brock Purdy right now, I wonder what the pressure would be like in his 8th ever start in the NFL with do or die, 3 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Try to go 60 or 75 yards to win this game.
I think you make very valid points. Appreciate all the feedback. It is, don't get me wrong, it is phenomenal to see how confident Cowboys fans are. I will admit,
You're phenomenal.
Thank you. Before the Tampa game, I probably would have been about 80-20 in favor of San Francisco. Since that, in the lead up, I'm down to 60-40. So the gap has absolutely closed for me. And I said this before, if they win this game, I believe the Cowboys will go to the Super Bowl.